A vision for the future. Jaguars owner Shad Khan revealing plans for a covered practice facility, amphitheater, and club seats.
And both the east and the west sides of Everbank Field will offer our fans the best premium experience anywhere in the NFL.
Plus, a shooting not far from the Veterans Memorial Arena. The victim was inside a car.
Because we need to get these dirtbags off the street.
What the sheriff's office is revealing about this investigation.
News4JAX starts right now with a breaking news alert.
That breaking news alerts from the U.S. Coast Guard. They say the missing cargo ship El Faro sank in the teeth of Hurricane Joaquin. Scramble to find survivors continues right now.
The worst spot for any ship to be in is when you're disabled, you lost all propulsion. You have no means to move that vessel.
Coast Guard says the focus will remain on searching for survivors. More than 70,000 square miles, nautical square miles, were searched over the weekend. Now, during this afternoon's news conference, the Coast Guard said 46 survival suits were on board. Only a handful have been located. Crews did find the remains of one person in one of those survival suits. They call the person unidentifiable. A lifeboat was also found, but crews say there was no sign anyone was ever inside. Marcus White's at the Seafarers Union Hall on the south side, where family of the crew gathered throughout the weekend. But first, let's check in with Ashley Mitchum with more on this new information from the Coast Guard. Ashley.
And that's the important message right now. The Coast Guard says just because it's assuming the ship has sunk, the search for survivors is still very much active. We've learned today that so far the Coast Guard has searched 70,000 square nautical miles. That's larger than the state of Florida. The Coast Guard says now the focus is on the search for survivors and not search for the ship. They will change that strategy. That means any plans or that they have to use planes or helicopters, they will be flying lower to do that search. They'll be looking for the remaining lifeboat that still hasn't been spotted. Since only a handful of survival suits were found in the debris field, there's a hope that the crew was able to get on them. Here's an idea of what those suits look like. They help people stay upright and afloat. They also keep a person warm because hypothermia can still set in even in warm water. Search crews are hopeful because every person on board is well trained.
In search and rescue, there's an art and a science to it. The science is really just physiologically, how long can you survive in the water? In warm water conditions, that's about 4 to 5 days. Then you kind of look at the art of it as, these are trained mariners. They know how to properly abandon ship. They know how to survive in the water. So we take that into account as well.
As for what's next, the Coast Guard says that aircraft will be flying all day today. Overnight tonight, 6 boats will be out continuing the search on the water. Bruce.
Ashley, thank you. The El Faro had 33 crew members on board. Many of the families gathered here in Jacksonville at the Seafarers Union Hall on the south side. Some of the families have been very forthcoming, talking to News4JAX about their loved ones. Channel 4's Marcus White live on the south side. Marcus.
Well, Bruce, family members have been coming here throughout the morning. I can step out of the way and show you the cars in the parking lot. This parking lot was empty earlier today. They've been coming here to show their support for one another. We did speak to the uncle of one of the men on the ship. He says that his nephew was on that ship. He tells us that his niece got a phone call just before 9 this morning from the Coast Guard explaining what happened. That phone call was with other family members, and he says after he learned the information from that phone call, he was heartbroken. And back out here live, you can still see family members are here. We do want to let you know that Young says that his nephew has 2 kids and 1 on the way. He says that he's going to be relying on the support of others dealing with all this. Marcus White, Channel 4, the local station.
Marcus, thank you. We'll have more on the sinking of the El Faro starting at 5. Get the latest information anytime on news4jax.com.
The initial flooding comes from storm surge. Here's Joy with a look at the potential effects of that storm surge.
We wanted to give you an idea of the storm surge that's expected with Hurricane Harvey. I checked with Rebecca. She says in some of the worst hit areas, they can expect to see a storm surge of 9 to 13 feet. Now, I'm standing on the landing in between the 2 floors here at the local station. Take a look at this tape measure. You can see where 9 feet measures and 13 feet. If you consider a single-story home is usually about 10 feet, then you can imagine the damage that will be done. Kent, Mary?
All right, if you couldn't find any protective glasses just so you could watch the eclipse today, we are going to show you another way that you can still safely view it.
It's old school. You need a box, a white piece of paper, some tin foil and tape. Mark and Crystal show us how it's done.
It's even easier than that, Bruce. In fact, you don't even need a box. We can take a white piece of paper and a mirror, right? This is a great way to protect your eyes by showing the shadow on the ground or on the building. All you're doing is cutting a hole in the middle of this white piece of paper. You put some tape on the back, and then you actually tape it to the mirror. And the way this is going to work is the sunlight hits this little circular piece of mirror, and you can aim the reflection down towards the ground and see the shape. You can see the crescent on the sidewalk.
So this is good for a group of people.
As a group, because the further away you get back to a wall, you can actually make that shadow look even bigger on the wall. So a whole group can see. But what if you just want to get your own personalized projector?
Well, if you want to just make one for yourself, maybe for your kids in a fun way, you can use a moon pie box. You can use a pizza box, any kind of box that you can find. And as Mark was mentioning, you want to use the long side. So you're going to cut 2 squares, which I've already done. Flop, flop, there you go. So you're going to cut 2 squares and you're going to glue tape the foil onto 1 square. So you have it taped, you have the other square empty. And then on the back of the box, you'll want to put a piece of paper back there, and that's what the projection is going to show on. So in the end, you're going to poke a hole, a tiny hole, and it's going to look like this. A tiny hole in the back of the box. Your back will be facing the sun. The sun will come through the hole, and you'll be able to see the projection through the box. So you don't have to put your eye in it. You'll be able to see it pretty well from here. So this is a good way to protect your eyes from everyday items that you have at home.
Right, so the best thing, of course, are these aluminized Mylar film sunglasses, right? You won't be able to see anything, so you don't drive with them, obviously.
Of course.
But basically, if you don't have this, please don't double up sunglasses. Don't use X-ray transparency film. There are a lot of gimmicks out there that people have used, but your eye doesn't have those nerves on the back of your retina.
Right.
So you'll be able to look at the sun and it doesn't feel like it's hurting, and you won't feel the pain or see any problems until 2 to 3 hours afterwards, right?
We've heard so many stories about this. So just make sure you head to our website, news4jax.com/eclipse. We have all of these tips on there. You can see how to make your own pinhole projector right on our website. Bruce, Nikki?
A Positively Jack story tonight. A Jacksonville man who first made a name for himself through wrestling, now making a name for himself through charity. He says he wants to give back to the city that gave him so much.
Elijah Burke is a commentator for Total Nonstop Action Wrestling. His character name is the Pope D'Angelo De Niro, and his act of kindness today is worthy of a pontiff.
The smiles. Gosh, the smiles on these people's faces when they realize that they're not being fed out of a soup kitchen.
Burke fed, clothed, and gave hygiene products to homeless and disadvantaged families in Jacksonville through his Love Alive charity. He got emotional while talking about the work. The event, now in its 4th year, was held at the Burger King on East State Street.
I have some people that believe in this cause. All of these individuals that you see back here, they have donated, and I tell people $1 helps, you know, but if I have to come out here every year and feed myself, feed these individuals myself out of my pocket, I have no problem doing it.
Before his mission of giving back, Burke wasn't just known for his performance in the ring. He was a deputy with the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office between 1998 and 2003 while working on a career as an amateur boxer. The former deputy wrestled for WWE from 2004 to 2008, taking part in WrestleMania 23. He's worked with TNA Wrestling off and on since 2009.
Obviously, a lot of people may remember Officer Burke fighting in Guns and Hoses, putting on the show as only I can.
Burke is quick to point out he hasn't forgotten where he came from and doesn't intend to anytime soon.
I grew up here. I shopped at that Winn-Dixie for years. As a kid, getting my cereal, I ate at this Burger King for years, and all of my old neighborhood right now is buried under the parking lot of the Alltel Stadium and the Jacksonville Coliseum. So I never forget where I come from. This is home, and I always wanted to give back whenever I will have the opportunity to. And fortunately enough for me, the last 4 years, I've been able to do that.
And Burke says he wants to continue this cause in the years to come. He welcomes volunteers and donations to help the charity grow.